One more lesson on the details of the Korean alphabet. This lesson is going to cover double consonants, but not the double consonants that we learned in the last two lessons. We are instead covering the type of double consonants where there are two different consonants together. These double consonants are usually found in the bottom of the character block in the Batchim position. To make things easier to talk about, in this lesson we will label the positions of the character block like so. The initial position will be called the first position. The next is the second position, and in the Batchim, the leading consonant will be the third position, and the final consonant will be the fourth position. I know it's kind of obvious, but I don't want to confuse anyone unnecessarily. When you encounter two different double consonants, usually the consonant in the fourth position is silent, except for some combinations that involve RL. But let's go over explicitly some of the most common types of letter pairs. The first combination is NJ. In this letter pair, the letter in the fourth position, J, is silent. We can also have S in the fourth position and B in the third. And once again, the letter in the fourth position goes silent, so we do not pronounce the S. This is a good time to mention that the Batchim pronunciation rules that we learned in the last lesson are observed. So the B sounds like P. Another common letter pair involves H in the fourth position and either an N or an RL in the third. In both these combinations, the H goes silent. Finally, we can have RL in the third position, and this is the tricky part. If the fourth letter is a B or a T, then the same rule that we've been talking about applies. The third letter is pronounced, and the fourth goes silent. So these combinations are pronounced as L. But if the fourth letter is M, P, or G, then the fourth letter is pronounced, and the third goes silent. So these combinations are pronounced as M, P, and G. But with Batchim pronunciation, G sounds like K. So in sum, when you have two different letters in the Batchim, only pronounce the third letter, unless you have a combination of RL with M, P, or G, in which case pronounce only the fourth letter. Remember, M, P, G, in combination with RL. MPG, miles per gallon, or any other memory device you want to use. But then, as we've seen before, things get more interesting when the next character begins with a nothing consonant. When this happens, the letter in the fourth position moves into the initial position of the next syllable, so you end up pronouncing both. This includes the oddball RL, but it does not include the H. Let's go through it more slowly and clearly. When you have N with J and a nothing consonant in the initial position of the next syllable, you pronounce the N in the bottom of the first syllable and pronounce the J as if it were the initial position of the second syllable. When you have the BS combination followed by a syllable that begins with the nothing consonant, the B is pronounced in the Batchim of the first syllable, and the S is pronounced in the initial position of the second syllable. Now you may be confused about whether to use Batchim pronunciation or normal pronunciation, and how it works is like this. The letter which is pronounced in the Batchim of the first syllable does get the Batchim pronunciation, but the letter which is carried over into the initial position of the next syllable does not receive Batchim pronunciation. So in this case, we have the B in the Batchim position. So it is pronounced like the P. But the S has been carried over, so it retains normal pronunciation. It sounds like an S. Remember I said H is the exception? When you have the letter H, it actually goes silent, and the letter in the third position is carried over. If you have NH in the Batchim and nothing in the initial position of the next syllable, you will pronounce the first syllable with 2 letters, and the next syllable will begin with N. Or if you have RLH, the H goes silent, and the RL is pronounced in the initial position of the second syllable. When you have any of the combinations RLB or RLT or RLM, RLP, RLG, they all follow the same regular rule. The RL is pronounced in the Batchim of the first syllable, and the B, T, M, P, and G are each carried over into the initial position of the next syllable. And remember, the RL is in the Batchim, so it sounds more like an L. But these others are carried over, and so they obey regular pronunciation rules. So in sum, when the next syllable begins with the nothing consonant, the letter in the fourth position moves into the initial position of the next syllable. So you end up pronouncing both letters. Unless the fourth letter is H, in which case the H is not pronounced, and the letter in the third position moves into the initial position of the next syllable. That's it for this lesson. It's only one concept, but it is a convoluted one. As these double consonants appear in later lessons, I will remind you of their pronunciation. Also, there are a few words that break the rules. If we encounter them, I'll do my best to let you know. The transcription is linked below. Thank you for watching.